Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. It's been less than 18 months since Donald Trump was elected president, but in that short time, the Democratic Party has changed almost beyond recognition. A party that was a middle-class party with middle-class concerns has become the party of the very rich and the very poor, and its interests and emphasis has changed correspondingly, and it's had implications for all of us. A top official with the Obama administration and Hillary Clinton's campaign will weigh in on those changes in just a minute. But first, tonight, the Inspector General of the Department of Justice announced today that the DOJ has opened an investigation into spying, possibly illegal spying, on American citizens by the federal government. Law professor Jonathan Turley will explain the legal implications of that brewing scandal in just a minute. But first, to Fox chief national correspondent Ed Henry, who's been following this all day for more details. Ed?
Tucker, great to see you. Initially, Democrats like Adam Schiff laughed off these allegations about FISA abuse, but tonight some in the Obama inner circle, as well as former top FBI officials like James Comey and Andrew McCabe, may be sweating a bit because this is heating up now with the Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz saying he's going to take a close look at it. And remember, Attorney General Jeff Sessions had said he wanted Horowitz to handle this, and Sessions got a lot of heat from supporters of President Trump who said the Inspector General would bury this and that this was Sessions passing the buck again. But this is a sign Horowitz is moving full speed ahead on what Republican Devin Nunes first revealed with his memo laying out how top FBI and justice officials in the Obama administration got a warrant from the FISA court to spy on ex-Trump advisor Carter Page. Most importantly, Comey, McCabe, and other officials allegedly used former British spy Christopher Steele's anti-Trump dossier to get that initial warrant without telling the judge that the DNC and Hillary Clinton's campaign had paid for the dirt in that dossier. Now, Horowitz is already working on two other major reports, including Comey's conduct, FBI agent Peter Strzok's text messages, and McCabe's unauthorized leak to the media. We should note that just this very week, there have also been criminal charges filed in Minnesota in a separate case involving a former FBI agent who allegedly leaked classified sensitive information. And so the bottom line is this is also part of Jeff Sessions' crackdown on the leaking of sensitive information. A big development tonight, Tucker.
It sure is. Ed Henry, thanks for that.
Good to see you.
Jonathan Turley is a law professor at George Washington University Law School in Washington. He joins us tonight. Professor, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
So it's the gravest of all charges, the federal government potentially spying illegally on American citizens. Why only now is the IG looking into this?
Well, you know, there's been an interesting phenomenon here. A lot of people who have rightfully criticized those that want to shut down the special counsel investigation.
Right.
But those same people often belittle these allegations about what happened in this secret court. And it's a dangerous combination to have a secret court that is based on a standard lower than the Fourth Amendment, that is totally secret and insulated from public review, if that court is also used for a political agenda. Now, we don't know if that's true, but we have worrisome facts that should be looked at. And so what I think is missing in Washington is this sense of balance. Both sides should be investigated. These are troubling issues that are raised by both the Republicans and the Democrats. What happened today is that we're going to be guaranteed that there will be an independent investigation, and Horowitz is the perfect guy to do it. I mean, he knows the DOJ, he's very well respected, and I think that what we're going to learn from this process could help us in the future.
What will he be looking at?
He's going to be looking specifically at that application with Carter Page. You know, many people made fun of President Trump when he said that his campaign was under surveillance, and people like former Director Clapper said, I would have known if there was an order of surveillance. Well, it turns out there were multiple orders of surveillance, not just the first one.
Can you stop right there? Clapper said that, mocked the idea. Clapper's been caught lying to the public before. Is there any way to read this other than as dishonesty?
Well, I don't know what Clapper was thinking of, but what we do know is that there was not just one, but a renewal of these orders. That's a very serious question to look at when you have someone who's associated with the opposing party's campaign for president. Now, a judge did look at this and did say that it warranted a renewal. But that application, while it said that one of these sources was political in nature, didn't reveal everything that the FBI knew about the dossier, that it was funded by the Clinton campaign, that it found that much of the dossier was not corroborated, that there were serious questions about the motivation, and the fact that Steele himself tried to shop this to the media and had told a justice official that he really didn't like Trump and wanted to do everything he could that he wouldn't be president. Those are material facts. Now, does that mean that the court became an adjunct of the DNC or was caught up in a political agenda? We don't know. But the point is that the American people have a right to know if this very powerful court was used for inappropriate or abusive reasons.
Have you noticed, since you've covered and taught the law in the city for a long time, a decline in the concern over civil liberties of Americans in Washington?
You know, I have. We've almost become numb. First of all, people have a really low expectation of their government now, and that's a real shame. But the FISA court itself has always been a concern for civil libertarians because of its standard, because of its insularity. So when this scandal focused on the FISA court, it was a huge concern because abuses in that court can be magnified in terms of their damage because it is so insulated, it is so secret, and it's capable of doing a lot more without people seeing it than a normal court.
I think it's terrifying, potentially anyway. Professor, thank you for that.
Thanks,
appreciate it. Well, in California, we've redefined who the criminals are, and as of yesterday, criminals are those who seek to enforce the law, at least in Orange County. The sheriff in that county, Sandra Hutchins, is trying to assist ICE by publishing the release times of illegal immigrants who are in custody and wanted by the feds. But that puts her in conflict with California's sanctuary state law, which seeks to undermine deportation efforts and sabotage U.S. immigration law. California Attorney General Javier Becerra has suggested that Hutchins should be sued or even arrested for her efforts. Raul Reyes is an attorney and a columnist, and he joins us tonight. Raul, thanks for coming on.
My pleasure.
This seems like the moment where legitimate concerns about what happens to people here legally become something grotesque, and the state starts to act against the interests of its citizens. So here you have a sheriff saying you have potentially dangerous criminals who are wanted by the feds. They're going to be released. I'm going to post the times they are released publicly so the feds can do their job and detain them. And the attorney general, the chief law enforcement officer of her state, is saying she should be arrested.
Right, right.
How could you take his side in this against the safety of citizens of California?
Well, actually, two points here. As far as the sheriffs posting the names of not just the undocumented people, but of all people who are being of all criminals who are being released from their jails, as far as my reading of this law goes, that actually complies with California's sanctuary law. It would be a different situation if she were singling out people who were, say, on the list of ICE detainers or undocumented people, people with Latino names. She is not doing that. So as far as in this instance, I actually do disagree with the Attorney General because I think if you look at an interpretation of the law, she is in compliance with what she is doing. However, that said, we have to remember when we talk about what they're doing in California, what the sheriff is doing, the people of California do support these so-called sanctuary measures. Last year, the Los Angeles Times found that 53% of Californians were in support of California's sanctuary policies.
Okay,
and
but let's back up. What percentage? Hold on. What percentage?
Two-thirds of Californians were in favor of these policies.
Okay, right. When we speak in general terms, it's easy to make generalizations.
Well,
but let's be specific. Hold on, let me if I can finish my question, if you don't mind, Mr. Reyes. What percentage of Californians do you think support the mayor of Oakland warning wanted criminals that they may be apprehended, and then watching as 4 of them went and committed felonies during the period they escaped apprehension by federal authorities?
As far as I know, there
got high
hasn't
support
been
in the
polling
state
done on what percentage of Oakland residents approve of what the mayor of Oakland did. And in reference to those 4 individuals who were apprehended later, ICE officials and Department of Homeland Security officials were not able to tie any of them directly to Oakland. So they did apprehend them. They were Bay Area, but there was no direct link for them to Oakland.
There was no direct link.
And remember that what the mayor did, she directed people to know their rights.
At some point, do you feel a certain sense of, is there anything that you won't make an excuse for? I mean, here you have guys who got out and committed actual crimes with firearms. One guy gravely injured his wife by beating her. They should have been in federal custody. They were wanted by federal authorities, and the state of California made it harder for them to be apprehended. Can't you just say, you know what? That's appalling. I mean, I support illegal aliens. You wouldn't say that's appalling.
I hear your question. I hear some of your emotion, and this is my answer to your question.
Come on now.
When the Department of Homeland Security or ICE wants to go after these violent criminals, they need to issue a criminal warrant. What they do instead is detainers, which California doesn't want. And this is what your audience needs to know. In 2015, for example, ICE issued something like 95,000 of these immigration detainers. 62% of them were not even followed up on in any way, and only 15% resulted in an actual deportation.
Yeah,
ICE itself is not taking these matters seriously, so as a result, the state and local government does not either.
Right, yeah. The debate is not whether ICE is issuing the appropriate detainers or warrants. The debate is over whether the mayor of Oakland should be warning criminals that the feds are out to get them. That's really the debate here.
The mayor of Oakland, what she did was direct people to know their rights based on what she heard and based on what she said was credible threats in the community.
Is there any normal person who would support that? I mean, even people who are sympathetic to the Dreamers, you know, I don't know, they're kind of with the call without a country, I get it, we, feel compassion. But if you have someone standing up for political reasons and saying, hey, you wanted for a serious crime, run away, the feds are coming, that's kind of the beginning of the end when elected officials do that. You don't see that.
No, I don't have that cynical take. What I do know as a native Californian is this Mayor Libby Schaaf of Oakland has been celebrated by the community because many people appreciate what she is doing. And that, although it's controversial because not everyone likes the idea, they do appreciate that she is directing all people, not necessarily criminals or undocumented people, to know their rights. And that's important when we deal with law enforcement.
All right. Well, good luck with the community.
Thank you.
Community celebrating, whatever that means. Raul, thank you. CNN's Chris Cuomo says nobody is trying to repeal the Second Amendment. Nobody, hasn't been reading the paper recently. We'll tell you who is, actually, coming up. Plus, the Democratic Party has been utterly transformed in the last few years. That's not an attack, merely an observation. Would the Barack Obama of 2012 be welcome in the Democratic Party? We've taken a close look. Joining us next is Clinton and Obama confidant Jennifer Palmieri. She'll be here in just a second. Stay tuned.